Ladies and gentlemen, good day. Even though we have not had very many responses to my last presentation about my question about why the origins of the Ibos is always in contention, why it's always in dispute. While nobody talks about the origins of the Yorubas, the origins of the Hausa Fulani, the origins of the other ethnicities in Nigeria, everybody is fixated and obsessed about the origins of the Ibos. And because everybody is obsessed and fixated, Ibos who are not qualified because they simply have not studied are also getting in. And you know our people, Chino Achebe described our people as an adventurous people, a free people, an egalitarian people. Everybody gets involved, and a lot of false information about us gets into the web. Our egalitarianism was proposed for a people that will be generally knowledgeable, but due to genocide, continuous persecution, a lot of Igbos are not informed, and a lot of Igbos are not qualified to discuss the origins of the Igbos. But fortunately, the facts are easy to excavate, explore, and come to the right conclusions yourself. If you know the meaning of the word Omenana, if you know that it is the identity or the name for the Igbo religion and culture, if you are very familiar with the Hebrew Bible, then you already have the answers, because the term Omenana was the term the God of Israel gave to the religion and culture of those Israelites you read about in the Bible. That's the descriptive. So, the origins of the Ibos is clear. They are linear descendants of the biblical Israelites. DNA studies has proved this beyond a doubt. I am 100% Middle Eastern. I'm at the same time 100% West African. And a Bedin, that is a religious cult, led by a rabbi with a PhD, Dr. Yehonatan Elazadi Mota. They are Sephardics. They studied Igbo culture and acknowledged the facts. They repeated what Igbos like myself have said for a very long time, that the Igbos are linear descendants of the Israelites, that the Jews, the Samaritans, the Karaites are alongside the Igbos, descendants of the biblical Israelites. So while you may say that the Igbos are not Jews, the Jews are also not Igbos, but they are descendants of the Israelites. And I saw that this grabbed attention, and I want to continue discussion along the same track. In 1968, Henry Kissinger wrote in a memo to Nixon, the United States president, that the Igbo people were Westernized. He wrote that the Igbo people were Westernized. Unfortunately, 99.9% of the Igbo people have not really thought about the import of this statement. Kissinger, of all people, wrote that the Igbos were Westernized. The Igbos who fancied themselves Afrocentrists kicked against this statement without thinking about what it meant. Kissinger used Westernized as a metaphor for progressive, advanced, democratic. He didn't mean that the Igbos were Europeans. The Igbos are not Europeans. We didn't emanate from Europe, just like I could also argue that nobody is inherently an European. An European could be an African tomorrow. The Afrikaners in South Africa were Europeans 300 years ago. I am not sure that they will remain. The Afrikaners in South Africa were Europeans 300 years ago. Today they are Africans. And I'm not sure they will remain Europeans 2,000 years from now. So, Henry Kissinger did not mean that Europeans I mean that Ibos were genetically Europeans. He meant that Ibos were progressive, democratic, advanced, that they had an open society like the Europeans. That's what he meant. And had Ibos taken things like this seriously, Ibos would not be declining the way they are declining. They would have been doing their utmost to become progressive, advanced, liberal, and to maintain an open society. They will not be declining into invention of monarchies, which they dropped thousands of years ago. Before the Europeans, before it occurred to the Europeans that monarchies are outdated, Ibos had done away with it thousands of years ago. And it's important for me to state clearly how we are able to drop it so early. The late great Igbo novelist Chinua Achebe, looking very carefully at Igbo history and culture, decided or deducted that the Igbo people had a raw deal with kings at an ancient times. In his opinion, that was why the Igbo statement Ezebuilo became a name in the Igbo cosmology and universe. Achebe did not study history, he studied classics, and even though he could have written a very good history of the Ibos, but he did not go to that, a very good cultural history of the Ibos, he did not go to that direction, because I believe that God wanted us to do what Achebe did not do. The kings destroyed ancient Israel. That was why the Ibos said Igbo Amweze when they had an opportunity to do away with kings. So back to the point I'm trying to make. If the Ibos people had thought about what Kissinger said, even though disaster came upon us in 1966, and we stayed in disaster till 1970, and persecution continued afterwards, we would have continued to be Westernized, that is, to be progressive, advanced, developed like the West. But we didn't think about that. And that is why people like me are so offended by the attempts by people like the Oni of Ife to distort Igbo history.